today's session. Welcome. We're just going to get started in a few seconds here, just to kind of give everybody the opportunity to sign into the platform. Welcome as you're transitioning, and hopefully you can hear us all okay. This is the Student Ambassadors presentation. Welcome everyone, and we're going to get started in just a few seconds here. This is the Student Ambassador presentation. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello everybody, my name is Mike Medina. I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Undergraduate Admissions at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. This session is going to start right now at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time, and it will run through about 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So about 45 minutes in length of time. We do find that the platform operates best using Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. If at any point during the session you're having any technical issues, specifically with audio or visual, we encourage you to refresh your browser. Sometimes we find that it also helps to log off of the session and then sign back into the session. We also encourage you to post questions throughout the session here. It's very interactive with the fact that we're going to open up this session at the end with a Q&A forum. So we'll hear from our students that you see pictured here. So we have Charlie, we have Micheala and Mikaela. Each of them will kind of give you an experience of what they have experienced at RPI in terms of being a student. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and transition to the first student. So Charlie, let's hear from you and have you introduce yourself.
Sure thing, Michael. Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Charlie Sanson. I'm a senior here at RPI, so class of 2021. I'm an industrial and management engineering major. I come from a little town just outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm a member of the RPI men's varsity soccer team. So my journey to RPI started obviously in high school. I went to a small private high school in Baltimore. My graduating class was 92 kids, so I definitely knew that I wanted to get out in the world a little bit. I told my parents, don't even bother looking in Maryland or Pennsylvania. I am, sort of going a little bit afield. I wanted a place that was a little bit bigger, and one of the things that I like about RPI, so we're 6,600 undergrad, it's big enough that you don't see the same people every day, and you can have sort of more than one circle of friends, but small enough that I can, every time I walk from one end of campus to the other, I'm going to see somebody that I know and I'm familiar with, and I can say hi to and, have a quick hello and a good moment. What really drew me here, though, was sort of the marriage of athletics and academics. So my mom likes to joke, I came out of the womb kicking a soccer ball. I knew I wanted to play college soccer. It's been a lifelong goal of mine, and my parents said that they would support that as long as I picked a school that met my academic potential. And so RPI was a perfect marriage of being, able to come to an athletic program where I could compete for league and national championships, and also getting a world-class engineering education at the same time. What made me choose RPI over the other schools that had that combo, though, was definitely the student body. So I came to Accepted Students Day my senior year, and as soon as I stepped on campus, I had the visceral sense that these were my people. We have such a passionate student body, I think is the best way to put it, whether it's their sport, their academics, school, and extracurricular, charity work they do. Everybody here is very passionate about something, and it makes for a campus full of really interesting, engaged people. You sort of know that whoever you run into around campus, when you're meeting people freshman year, they're going to be interesting. They're going to be, people you can see yourself becoming friends with down the line. I'm not going to lie to you guys. The post-grad opportunities are absolutely a reason that I came to RPI. RPI students outperform the sort of national starting salary means in just about every discipline. I'm going to work for a consulting firm in Boston. I got that position after completing an internship there. that internship was only available to RPI students and was created by RPI alums specifically for RPI students doing the Arch program. That's an opportunity I would never have gotten if I went anywhere else in the country. And that's something kind of unique and valuable about RPI. So I mentioned earlier, I'm an industrial and management engineer. Okay, what the heck is that? So IMEs were all about efficiency. The nice thing though is IME is a degree you can apply in a huge variety of industries and landscapes. So I've always liked the more business side of IME. So management structures, sort of setting up systems for success, helping to streamline whether it's sales or scheduling, things like that. And so with that, I always knew I wanted to go into consulting. There's also the industrial side of industrial engineering. So helping design factory floors or transportation routes and trying to move material from one place to another as quickly as possible. So you really can, do anything. You can work for GE, you can work for Deloitte, you can do anything and everything in between. It's not all engineering all the time. So everyone here takes at least 24 credits of humanities courses. And that gives you an opportunity, a really nice opportunity, I think, to look at some different problems and think about issues in different ways with maybe different groups of people that aren't just in your major. I've taken fascinating courses in contemporary Africa, the way, law and society. So looking at the way society influences modern law. And my personal favorite was a class that was about technology in society. So looking at the ways that specifically smartphones have changed the way that we have our day-to-day interactions with each other. Those are fascinating things that don't necessarily pertain directly to my major, but I've really enjoyed those experiences, getting to step out and sort of think about problems in a little bit of a different way. I am part of Alpha Pi Mu, the IME Honor Society on campus. So as a part of that, we hear speakers from local businesses and take field trips. So that's a great opportunity to ask questions to local business owners about how they run their operations and, maybe even give input or feedback if that's what they're looking for as well. So my campus activities, like I mentioned, I'm a part of the soccer team. So that's a very competitive thing that takes up a lot of my time on campus. So we made the Elite Eight last year, the NCAA quarterfinals, and we're at one point ranked number 4 in the country. We finished number 7th. So that's a huge time commitment for those of you interested in varsity athletics. All of our teams are D3 except for men's and women's hockey, which are D1. The D3 commitment is 6 days a week during the season, either practices or games. You get 1 day off. And then during the off season, we do conditioning. We lift about 2 or 3 times a week, and then have another season in the spring. We also play, obsessively nearly every day. In terms of recruiting, I'll talk about that for just like 2 seconds. So technically, all D3 schools have to have walk-on tryouts. However, most of our teams are very competitive. So it's highly recommended that you guys reach out to the coaches ahead of time, have them see you play in tournaments or events, send them video, come to school, do prospect days, things like that. Pretty much everybody on the soccer team was recruited. So that's definitely a thing you want to do if you're interested in varsity athletics. I'm also an admissions ambassador. Obviously, I'm doing things like this. We also give campus tours during the school year and answer the phones at the admissions office. That's a lot of fun, a good way to make some money while I'm on campus. And I'm a part of the Soul Survivors Club, which is dedicated to raising funding and awareness for victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. That's a cause I'm really, really passionate about, and sort of grateful that I get the time to do that in addition to my academics and athletics, and coaches are very supportive of that. So a little bit about the internship that I had. So I did the Arch program. So that was, I was on campus between sophomore and junior year in the summer, and then had spring junior year off to do an internship. So I went to Boston, worked for a consulting firm called ZS. They do a lot of medical and pharmaceutical stuff. You can see on the deck, the slide, a few of the projects that I worked on. What I'll talk about, though, that was interesting from that experience was I used a little bit of the technical knowledge I gained from my curriculum, but really what RPI did a great job of was giving me the intangibles. I walked in the first day of my internship and they told me, we don't expect you to know how to do what you have to do yet. We just expect you to be able to learn how to do what you have to do. And RPI did a great job setting me up for that in terms of, I'd already had experience working in teams, figuring out complex solutions, working, to deliver assignments where I might not have all the info and I might have to probe for more, the time management skills, things like that. It was many of the intangibles that actually proved to be the most important thing during this internship, even more so than the necessary technical background that you have to have and can get pretty much everywhere. Okay, so I'll wrap it up here in just a sec. So my future plans, this is my senior year, obviously. So I've got about 8 more months to enjoy this experience. I am going back to ZS to work after graduation, and then probably in 3 to 5 years, I'm coming back to the Lally School to get my MBA and take the next step in my career. So at this point, I will pass it over to Michaela, who's going to take it from here.
Hello, I'm Micheala. I'm actually having a little bit of trouble viewing the slides. If Charlie or the other Micheala wouldn't mind.
Yeah, what do you need?
Do you mind controlling the slides for me?
Sure. Is the control slide button not working for you?
Yeah.
No worries.
Okay, perfect. So like I said, I'm Micheala. I'm a junior civil engineering major. Just tell you a little bit about like why I chose RPI. One thing that was really important to me was that I went to an engineering focused school because I did know that I wanted to do engineering, but I wasn't sure exactly what discipline of engineering I wanted to do because my high school, like a lot of high schools, didn't really have a strong engineering program. So I hadn't been exposed to a lot of engineering. So I thought I might want to do civil engineering, but I wasn't sure. So it was important to me that I went to a school that had a lot of options. And with that, RPI is also made it really easy to switch between majors, specifically engineering majors, but also between schools as well. So that was really important to me because, it made me feel like I wouldn't be wasting 2 years if I spent 2 years working towards a mechanical engineering degree and then decided that wasn't what I wanted to do. Thankfully, I haven't had to switch my major, but it was always nice just knowing that the option was there. Something else that was really important to me was that it was easy to travel home. I'm from Long Island, and freshman year, you can't have a car on campus. So it was really important that I had an easy way to get back home because my family means a whole lot to me. So I like to visit, every few months. So it's super easy to travel home, especially to Long Island or New York City, even to New Jersey. And I know there's a whole bunch of other trains that run through. We have an Amtrak station about 20 minutes away from campus. So I would just catch an Uber there and then take the train right home and not have to worry about traveling home at all, which was really nice. Made it super easy to go visit my family. And the last thing that like really sold me on RPI was their academic reputation. RPI is really well known engineering school, as well as so like you say that you're from RPI, and people are always like, oh, like you must be like really smart. So that kind of reputation really speaks for itself, especially I know when interviewing for jobs and whatnot. As Charlie said, like RPI alum are really helpful in speaking for the school, and just you going to RPI is enough for you to kind of get your foot in the door, and for companies to kind of know, like, okay, like you can do like the rigorous academics. You can go to the next one. Yeah, so like I said, I'm a civil engineering major. if you don't know, civil engineering is essentially the math side of architecture as far as structural engineering goes. There's 4 different concentrations, so you either go geotechnical, environmental, structural, or transportation. So it was really nice that you have a lot of options, a lot of versatility, and you can do pretty much whatever you want when you graduate because there's just so many different fields. So one of the things that I've really enjoyed being a civil engineer major is that my second semester, sophomore year, is the semester where you're supposed to essentially choose which concentration that you want to pursue. So during that semester, all the civil engineering majors of your cohort take the same 4 classes, and there's only one section of each. So you get to take those same 4 classes with everyone. That was probably my favorite semester that I've had at RPI so far, just because it was really nice to get to know all the other civil engineering majors. And it was nice because you're working with the same group of people. We did a whole lot of group projects and things like that. So you really get to know everyone pretty closely. And one thing that I really like about RPI is the dynamic when you're doing group projects or in-class things. It's not competitive, it's very collaborative. And that was like really clear through this because everyone, you know, just wanted to work together. And especially with all of us taking the same 4 classes, like if you were struggling in intro to geotechnical engineering, but you were doing well in intro to structural engineering, you know, you can help someone out in the other and they can help you out, vice versa. So I just think that was a really nice way that RPI set up the curriculum specifically for my major. And I know there's a few other majors that have a similar setup. But yeah, that's something I really like. So on campus, obviously I'm an admissions ambassador, just like Charlie and Michaela. I also do Greek life. I'm a really big fan of Greek life, specifically at RPI. I feel like Greek life at RPI is much different than Greek life at other schools. It's very academic focused, personally, I feel. And one thing that has really been helpful is all the resources that Greek life has given me, because you know, each organization on their own has different resources for their members to use. So I know personally my organization has a lot of like incentives for doing well in classes, and we make study groups and we have to do study hours. And we, you know, have to keep our GPA up, but also there is that social aspect as well. And what I really like is, you know, it provides you provides you with a nice network of people, especially being a woman in STEM. It can feel a little isolating when it's heavily male dominated in not only in my major but in the school as a whole. So it really helped me to find a group of girls that I really I really feel comfortable hanging out with and I feel supported by, and they kind of push me to be better, not only in my academics but just as a person, be a better friend. I also do ASCE, which is the American Society of Civil Engineers. We have a student chapter on campus. They're sort of the professional organization for civil engineers. And they provide some really great networking opportunities, as well as they do like resume critiques before the career fair, and things of that sort. So they've been really helpful. And that's been something I really like to get involved in. Lastly, I also do RPI Ambulance, which is our volunteer EMS organization on campus. RPI ambulance has been really great. It provides a free ambulance service to students, which is amazing because the last thing you want to be worried about if you're having a medical emergency is if you're going to have to pay for the bill for the ride to the hospital. So it's 100% volunteer, and they also provide a lot of great opportunities. You can take an EMT class through them, and it will be 100% free to you. They'll provide the textbooks, the materials. You can go on calls and learn all about EMS if you've never done it before. If you're already an EMT, then they'd love to have you as well because they could always use more experienced hands. But yeah, RPI ambulance. The one thing that I really like about all the clubs on campus, and specifically I found this most in RPI ambulance, is that you really get out of it what you put into it. So if you don't have a ton of time on your hands, it's not like you're going to get fined or kicked out or anything like that. Everyone understands you are a student first. You have other priorities that you need to take care of first, and it's not going to be detrimental to your membership of any club if you decide to put your academics first, as you should. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about my first year at RPI. So I lived in Bray Hall, which is on Freshman Hill. And if you don't know, Freshman Hill is a little area on campus where all the freshman dorm buildings are. And in the middle, there is our Commons Dining Hall, which is recently redone. And it's really just a nice place because a majority of the freshmen live right on that one area. And it's just walking distance from campus. It's walking distance from the union. But so you get to kind of know everyone in your area. And I know for me, a lot of my friends that I made freshman year also lived in other buildings on Freshman Hill. So we could just walk right over and go hang out with them. And it was, it was like they were living right outside my door. Some of the resources that RPI will provide for you freshman year is you will have a resident assistant, which is just someone who will help you with kind of the social aspects of living in a dorm, like if you have a problem with your roommate, if you get locked out, things like that, the resident assistant will help you with. But something unique to RPI is that they'll also provide you with a learning assistant, which is actually someone that I found really helpful my freshman year because it can be really hard transitioning from high school academics to college academics. And I know one problem that I had was that I didn't really feel like I learned how to study on my own in high school. So I just scheduled a meeting with my learning assistant, and they also live in your dorm building. So it was just down the hall from me. And I sat down with him, and we came up with an academic plan for me, just to help me get myself in order and make that transition from high school to college learning. Something else helpful is the I Persist mentors. So for a lot of the big freshman classes, Chem 1, Physics 1, Calc 1, I believe, you'll be provided a mentor, which essentially is like a smaller recitation that you go to once a week. I had a mentor for Chem 1, and I really enjoyed having that space because it was a much smaller group than my lecture initially was. So I felt a lot more comfortable asking questions and answering questions and working through problems, and sort of got to be a little more one-on-one with someone who knew what they were doing. So I found that the mentors have been really helpful. Someone else that it could be used as a resource is a class dean. They will be there for you if you need help getting excusals for classes. If you have a medical emergency, a family emergency, anything like that, and you're not going to be able to make it to class, they'll be able to help you with that. And yeah, and then lastly, we have the engineering hub. So for engineering majors, everyone gets a academic advisor that works in the engineering hub. And they will help you plan out your 4-year plan, choose classes for each semester. And there's also just like a little space to study in the JEC if you just need somewhere quiet that's not the library. We skipped over 2 slides.
Yeah, in the interest of time, because we got to do Michaela and then get to questions
Okay,
at the
yeah,
end,
that's
we're
fine.
just going to keep it moving.
Okay, so now Michaela is going to.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. So my name is Michaela Gray. I am a junior engineer here at RPI. I am an electrical engineer, and I'm also minoring in sustainability studies. So why did I choose RPI? So I come from Middletown, New York, which is about 2 hours away from here. It was a public high school with a graduating class of about 450 students. So I had a really big graduating class, and it was close to RPI. So a few of the reasons why I chose RPI were that it is very close to my home, so it's like 2 hours. RPI is a STEM focus. I knew I always wanted to go into engineering. I wasn't sure what kind of engineering I specifically wanted to go into, but I knew I wanted to do engineering. And also, like all of you, I am a medalist winner. So the medalist scholarship was another one of the big reasons why I came to RPI. Because of that guaranteed scholarship, it really helped out in my financial situation to allow me to come to RPI. So next, why, you might be wondering, okay, Michaela, electrical engineering, why did you choose this? So originally, I did not choose electrical engineering. I came in as a mechanical engineer and switched about a month and a half into classes freshman year, and decided I was all in on electrical engineering because I was combining electrical engineering with like my sustainability studies minor, to do something in like a renewable energy source, because that's what I decided I wanted to go full force into. So on the slide, you can see a couple of the projects I've done here at RPI. The first one on the left with all those wires is from embedded control, and we attached that to a car, and we were able to drive it around after coding it. It was really cool. The middle one was from Introduction to Engineering Design, and it's a line follower car. That was really cool. We got to code that as well. And the last one is from Computer Components and Operations, and we were flipping those little switches, and it would change the number counter that's on the bottom right. So also, I'd like to mention that I should have mentioned on the other slide, I also applied early decision to RPI. So if you have any questions about that, I applied early decision 1. So I knew by December that I was accepted into RPI, and the medalist scholarship was a big part of that reasoning. Anyway. So what do I do on campus? I am an admissions ambassador, just like Michaela and Charlie. I'm also very heavily involved in the Society of Women Engineers, or I will probably call it SWE as I talk about it. So that picture on the top right is me at a local conference for SWE. I went to Baltimore, Maryland my freshman year, and got a lot of help professionally with other women. There was a lot of development workshops, a lot of opportunities from that. And also just on campus, I was a summer arts representative for the Society of Women Engineers, where I ran the club over the summer with one of my co-reps. And I also am now currently a co-outreach director. So we do outreach to like K through 12 girls to get them interested in STEM. Also, the Society of Women Engineers, you do not need to be female and you do not need to be an engineer to be in it. It's a very inclusive diversity organization, and we work closely with other diversity organizations on campus, such as the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, National Society of Black Engineers, and the Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers. I'm also in pep band, which I really, really love. So I play clarinet, and I'm also the section leader for that. So between SWE and pep band, I keep myself pretty busy when I'm not doing schoolwork. But we play at the D1 hockey games, we play at football games, and it's a lot of fun. That big group picture is us actually on the ice of the hockey rink after our annual freakout game, which is just a really good time. Even if you don't play an instrument, I would highly recommend going to the hockey games. They are a lot of fun, and they're like something to do on the weekends. That's just a lot of fun. And to wrap it up quickly so we can get to all your questions. So some of my future plans, I am a junior, so I'll be graduating in May of 2022. I'm currently looking for internships, and hopefully that will lead me to a full-time job after I graduate, and I wish to be working on renewable energy systems to make the world a more sustainable place. So that was really quick about me, but we look forward to answering all your questions, and definitely follow us on social media. The links are
Especially the Instagram. The Instagram is popping off. We do takeovers. We do live videos. I also promised our boss I'd get us up to 5,000 followers by the end of the year. So I'm shifting that onto you guys. So everybody go follow the Instagram. There's also an email address that I think hopefully we'll be able to put in at the end. And if you email that, it's, I think, admambassadors@rpi.edu. That goes directly to us. So if you have a question for the ambassadors outside of the session, email that, and we'll get back to you with an answer.
Great. Thank you, Charlie. And thank you to all the students presenters today. So we're going to open up the forum for some questions here, and we have received some questions already. So the first question we have is in regards to living on and off campus, particularly for upperclassmen students. So I see a question in terms of, have any of you lived off campus? Do you know anybody who's lived off campus? What has that experience been like? So let's start with Micheala with a K. So do you live on or off campus as a junior? And talk a little bit about that experience and what living in Troy has been like. And then if Charlie and other Micheala want to contribute, feel free to, okay?
Yeah, so definitely. So for my first first 2 years, I lived on campus, but now as a junior, I currently live off campus. I really like living off campus, but I'm in downtown Troy, so I'm pretty close to RPI. It's about a 10-minute walk, unfortunately uphill, but I am only a 10-minute walk away from campus. I like it. I get to cook my own food. I really am enjoying living off campus, but living on campus, especially as like a freshman and a sophomore, was really helpful because also didn't have to think about cooking food, and I was really close to campus, which was helpful like when I was trying to just get my bearings and going like, oh, classes in like 5 minutes, but like, oh, it's okay, I'm right here.
Yeah, I also live off campus. I would definitely, some of the seniors, I've done 2 years off campus now. I would definitely recommend the off-campus experience. Right now, I'm living in a house with 7 of my teammates and / best friends, which is really great. And then I've also lived, right now I'm living downtown in the inside apartments next to Beer Garden, and then I've also lived in that house. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot easier to get a big group of people together when you move off campus, and that's definitely a benefit of it.
Yeah, I also live off campus right now as a junior. I would say it's definitely a lot of fun living with, your best friends. But it was really nice to be on campus and not have to worry about, grocery shopping and cooking your own meals and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to buy your furniture either those first semesters that you're living on campus. For anyone who is unfamiliar, our students are required to live on campus the first 5 semesters, and then second half of junior year and senior year, you get the opportunity to decide if you want to live on campus or off campus. But yes, to the point of a lot of our upperclassmen students do choose to live off campus because downtown Troy is so close to campus. So I think we've kind of touched on the question from Andrew in regards to freshman and sophomore year dorming experience. We've also got a question regarding what was it like in making up class/credits missed during an ARCH internship. So Charlie, I know you mentioned your ARCH experience. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that summer on campus was like and then planning for that for your internship opportunity?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely, Mike. And what I'll say is there's no such thing as making up credits that you missed. The ARCH is set up so that you don't miss anything. So after your sophomore year, you take the credits during the summer that you would take junior year. So rather than getting behind, you're actually getting ahead, and then you have that semester off to take. So that was, summer ARCH was definitely a little bit stressful, I would say, for me. I was also the first year that they did the ARCH, and so I was kind of the guinea pig. And feedback from my class kind of helped them sort things out and make it a much smoother experience the next couple years. But I would also say that it taught me really good work ethic because some of your classes are 6 weeks or 12 weeks. So you just have to be super diligent and focused. And then when I went to go do my internship and I was working for this consulting firm where, you were expected to deliver things on time and you might have to work long hours or do it unpredictably, I felt very I'd already been there and done that. So it felt like no big deal for me.
Yeah, so as Charlie pointed out, we incorporate the ARCH into your curriculum so that way you still stay on track to graduation day so you don't have to make up credits because the ARCH is for most students, it's the summer after you complete your sophomore year, which now allows for you to do the semester away. And then Charlie talked about his experience a few different times in terms of getting that internship opportunity, which it then allows you to do. We also have a question in regards to minors. So do the classes for your minor act as elective courses in your schedule? Michaela Gray, I know you mentioned you are a sustainability minor. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So there are many different minors you can get at RPI. I could get, if I wasn't an electrical engineer, you can get a minor in electrical engineering. But what I chose to do, so as Charlie mentioned before, we have to take so many humanities and social science credits. So what I did was I turned the 22 credits that I had to do for that into my minor because sustainability studies is a humanities and social science minor. So it definitely fits in my schedule. And we have certain requirements for those classes as well. And getting a minor in a humanities social science is almost guarantees that you're going to meet all those requirements by the time you finish that minor.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that students can kind of cross over and do a minor or just even take classes. So I think that's pretty nice that we have those low walls to give you that opportunity to cross over. Thanks, Michaela. And then we have two questions that are very similar. So Mary H. asks, how safe do you feel on campus? And then Molly V. asks, what's the environment in downtown like? So Michaela O'Connor, what would you say your experience has been like living on campus and then living with so close proximity to downtown Troy?
Yeah, so I would say I definitely feel safe in the on-campus environment. It really feels like, even though our campus is technically an open campus and there's no gates or anything in and out, but it definitely feels like its own little bubble of just the students. Living off campus has been a little different because you don't have quite that little bubble. But I would still say I feel, safe walking around downtown. There's a lot of really nice little shops and little places to eat and whatnot, and the farmers market. So I would say I spend a lot of time downtown, and it's a really nice little community once you get to know.
Yeah, and Charlie actually mentioned to me earlier this morning before we started this session that he went to downtown Troy today for the farmers market. Charlie, do you want to talk about what Troy has been like for you and also living on campus and just the campus culture in general?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, campus, like Michaela said, incredibly safe. I'll walk around any hour of the day or night, not really feel in danger. I've made more 1 a.m. trips to the McDonald's on the end of 15th Street than I care to admit. So definitely campus, totally safe environment. Downtown Troy is a really, really nice place to be, especially on the weekends as well. So they do a farmer's market every weekend during the summer, fall, and spring. During the spring, they also do these. So we have a riverfront concert venue in Troy. And what they'll do during the spring is bring in local musicians, and they'll have concerts usually on Friday and Saturday evenings. So you can go do that with friends. That's a really fun and relaxing thing to do. Then during the summer, they have this thing called like the Great Barbecue Cook-Off of Troy. That's a lot of fun. People come from all over like the capital region and enter their barbecue dishes in a bunch of different contests. A friend of mine actually entered ribs one summer, the summer I was here for Arch, and won like $500 and still hasn't shut up about it. So there's a lot of really cool things to do in Troy. Troy, like Michaela said, has a bunch of great places to eat. There's everything from Italian to Chinese to a lot of the Asian cuisine actually in Troy is fantastic. So yeah, I would definitely say Troy is a great vibe and really enjoy going down there. I'd say most RPI students go at least once a week, maybe twice, something like that.
Yeah, and we do have public safety on campus that's available 24/7 in case there's ever an emergency. I believe Michaela O'Connor mentioned she's also a part of the RPI ambulance organization on our campus. It's also good to know that the large majority of our campus events, as well as student life, do occur on campus, just because we are primarily a residential campus community. I also encourage families who are on the call who have more questions, particularly in regards to campus safety, check out our Clary report. As by law, colleges are required to complete that and file that. So check that out on our website, and also compare us to other institutions who are similar. And then we have about 4 to 5 minutes left here. And I believe there was a question in regards to COVID and kind of what that has been like this year. So maybe we'll kind of go person to person. If you can just share what your experience has been like being at RPI during the pandemic, and how your faculty have been supportive, how different departments have been supportive. We'll start with Michaela Gray.
Okay, so COVID definitely hit and it was crazy. So I was in the middle of my second semester sophomore year. I was taking Introduction to Engineering Design, which is a design course where I worked in a team of 7. But I think our professors really did a fantastic job of moving it online. A lot of people don't like engineering design. It's a really big group work class. But even with that experience of having it moved online, it was my favorite class and still is my favorite class I have taken at RPI. Also, since I was a sophomore, I also did summer Arch online as a junior, which was a different experience, not really the one that I thought I was going to have, but I still was able to get all the information that I needed and work more closely with my department because, again, we were the only students taking classes at RPI during the summer. And I feel like it also gave me a head start of what to expect this fall, which has been also helpful. But I am back in Troy, so I have been doing some hybrid learning this semester. So I am in like engineering processes, which is like a machine shop class, and I get to go in like every 2 weeks to do that class. And I also am taking Field and Waves, which has a lab, which is in person because of the hybrid learning. But I still have quite a few classes online. But other than that, I think it still is easy to work together with others, even with the COVID situation. Everyone is very like receptive and knows we still need to get this work done no matter what the situation is. But everyone, and especially staff, has been pretty understanding with the situations that have been going on.
Great. Thank you, Michaela. So we have about just 2 minutes left here. Michaela or Charlie, any last minute thing that you wanted to add on to that, or can we jump to the last question that I wanted to ask you about why you chose RPI and what type of advice you would give? So any other things that you want to mention about the pandemic and how that's affected your learning? All right, wonderful. So the last question, as I just mentioned, what would each of you say for advice in terms of students who are in the room? So Michaela O'Connor, what type of advice would you give to students?
The one thing that I would say is like picture where you're going to be in 1 year, 2 years. And if you see that place like being RPI, then I think you absolutely should come. It's the perfect balance between academics and social life. And, you know, if that's what you're looking for, then I think this is the place to be.
Charlie?
You know, whether you end up at RPI or somewhere else, my advice to freshmen is always the same. Say yes. Say yes and say it to everything. College is a routine and you're going to have to grind through it. So every opportunity that you get to do something fun, something interesting, something you haven't done before, even something you might not think you're that interested in, just say yes. Just try it. Get off campus, do fun things around campus, meet new people. You know, you only get 4 years at this. And it's very easy to get to college and get very focused on your studies and get in the routine, and you look up and it's halfway done. Just say yes to everything, get out there and have as many fun experiences as you can. You know, because it's a great experience wherever you go.
And last but not least, Michaela Gray.
Yeah, I would totally agree with Charlie. Like, I definitely didn't think I'd be in the position I am today. Like, I'm co-running outreach for young women. Like, that's not something I ever would have done. I was pretty introverted before coming to college, and now I am like a lot more extroverted. Like, don't be afraid to do what you want. Like, take those chances, take those risks, and also highly recommend water bottles, rain boots, essential.
All right, thank the three of you for your contributions and sharing your experiences and your perspective. I provided the email that Charlie mentioned earlier. If you want to follow up with any of the students later on to get more information, feel free to contact them. Also, our Instagram is a great resource to kind of get the idea of what it's like with a visual setting of campus environment, the day-to-day life. They always do student takeover, so you can follow us on RPI admissions to kind of get that experience. At this time, this is the end of the session. I would refer you to your email where you should have the link to the next information session. Thank you all for being here. We hope you stay safe and you have a productive senior year.